Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you're watching the end of the TING North American qualifiers. This was the second and the last qualifier, and this is the very last best of 3 match. One of these two players will qualify through for the group stages of the $5,000 TING Open. Another cool fact a lot of you may not know is that prizes will be paid out all the way down to 8th place for this tournament. So essentially all you got to do is survive both group stages and you've at least made money. But there's still a lot of work ahead of everybody at this point. Spawning here in the bottom left side of the map, playing for Evil Geniuses, it's the orange Protoss HuK.
In the top right, as the blue Terran, he's Drunkenboi.
Now, really quick, guys, name of the tournament, gotta bring him up one last time. TING Open, $5,000 being provided entirely by TING. bttv.ting.com is a link you want to check out and at least explore because it will teach you more about the services that they offer to, sadly, only United States residents. Plus, you get $25 in credit, and that could go towards getting you a cheaper phone, a better phone, or even just a monthly plan. But Fear Dragon, you are Mr. North America. You've been watching both of these players. Well, I think HuK significantly more than Drunkenboi, but you've been watching them for a while. So we talked a little bit about it, but we didn't make predictions. Hit us up. Who do you think? What's the score?
I really do think that HuK is going to be favored, and I say this not because I think that Drunkenboi is going to, doesn't stand a chance for a thing. I think Drunkenboi has that kind of wild card factor.
Yeah, he just
but
beat HuK
it comes down
2-1.
to Yeah. See, Drunkenboi is amongst like this small squadron of Terran players. And there's just this weird thing about North American Terran players, and actually I would say Intense and Major are amongst these Terran players, where they just take elongated breaks from StarCraft where they're like, I'm not really feeling it. I'm struggling a lot, and they'll just walk away or barely play for like months. And then they'll come back with very low expectations for themselves and just start winning and winning and winning.
So HuK
And that's
2-0,
sort of the state. Yeah, I still think I actually still think that like HuK is such a solid player, and he's been doing really well in PvT lately, especially. And I feel like HuK is still very much favored in this. But Drunkenboi, I do not want to like undermine this. He almost qualified for like the WCS Challenger thing like yesterday. He came really, really close. He's been doing really well, and I've only heard like really positive things about him.
First off, that's spelt wrong, but whatever.
Right?
I think I'm gonna.
Oh!
Okay, nice. Wow. I'm gonna go with HuK 2-0 on this one. I feel a lot of your same sentiments resonating with like Drunkenboi's not too bad, and because we both said HuK, so I'm just gonna say Drunkenboi. So spoiler alert, but I don't know. Like I really think he's gonna have to pull something really special to beat HuK.
So, I was actually going to say HuK 2-1. If Drunkenboi has a good one-base build in him, I think a lot of Protosses are having trouble right now against a variety of one-base builds that can be thrown out. This, unfortunately, is not that. This actually is setting up to be a lot more defensive, especially, like, it has to actually be defensive because there's a War Prism on the way. If this was offensive, it could do something, especially on a different map. Cyclones can add a lot of damage, like, get a lot of free kills, but
If
he
anyone,
has to stay at home.
If anyone did not see the Korean qualifiers and you want to see Cyclones be useful on one base builds, beating Protoss, beating them silly on one base, go look at Reality's games. Look up those VODs because you will not regret it.
Any of the qualifiers, actually, from the first Korean qualifier, they were all TvPs, and all of them had multiple one-base builds that demolished a lot of really good Protosses. So I have a lot of faith in a one-base build, maybe in Game 2 or Last Resort in Game 3. If Drunkenboi wins with a macro game. I do not have a lot of hope in the macro game for him, though.
I would agree on that point, too. Not just because Terran might be more dependent on one-base builds, but because HuK has always been a very good macro player. Someone who reaches for storms first and plays steady and calm.
Yeah. I was actually really hoping that as we saw like the tech lab going down right next to that starport, I was really hoping that Drunkenboi was going to do something weird, like you guys were saying, like go for Banshees. Cloak Banshees? Who does that in TvP anymore? But if you look at what HuK's composition is
in the Korean qualifiers.
Yeah, I was at work, so that's my justification for not seeing that. But I mean, there's not exactly a lot of anti-air for HuK right now, and that's because so many Protoss players are just going for these adept-heavy compositions.
This is a strange place to patrol the Cyclone. Usually it's in the base. This is actually going to miss it entirely. And I mean, there's a Viking, there's a Marine, so this keeps this from doing infinite damage, but this should have caught this. It's a little bit awkward.
Oh, Drunken.
Oh, picks it up too quick.
Oh no.
Whoops.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
Psych.
You too,
DJ
babe.
HuK Khaled. Other side of the map, the photon overcharge gets popped, so it looks like Drunkenboi lost his Liberator. Tank is in an unfortunate spot. Oh!
That was pretty good. There's an SCV at the third base still. Just being sneaky.
I mean, it actually hasn't been
Sneaky,
scouted.
sneaky.
Makes sense.
Steal that Geyser.
Oh,
This is
it's
actually
gone.
really nice.
He's dead.
And of course, the Cyclone can. Oh no, it can't take a disruptor hit. That's right.
You can try and
Oh,
run.
the jokes! Oh, the jokes are real! Oh, the cheeky little smile.
If HuK is top 3 control, I think I know who's top 2.
Hey.
So what I find hilarious about this too, HuK's in-game attitude is always one I actually really enjoy, because even when he's salty as fuck, he can still be like cheeky. And I'm not saying that's the case right now, but I do love this sort of interaction. Two boys coming from Toronto, and they know each other. And oh, that SCV gets a kill!
Aww.
That's a Rifkin SCV if I've ever seen one. Congratulations, boys!
And then he dies. But the Colossus on the way is what I was oohing at earlier. Instead of a Disruptor, instead of an Immortal. Colossus this early. This does, like, it's going to add up. It's going to get up to, like, 3 or 4, especially since he is actually investing into the extended thermal lance. No fake Colossus builds here. But is Drunkenboi, is he going to expect this? Is he know how to deal with it? It's going to be like, what?
So actually, I want to talk on the merits of Colossus in a moment, but a quick shout out to Moving Laterally, who donated $5 just now. He says, I'm surprised Rift Ferratu is still casting considering the sun has set. I would have thought he'd need to go feed. Nerf Zerg, by the way. Should really read these things before I decide to read them.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. You became more powerful at night because now you aren't gonna burn in the sun.
Shut
Well,
up.
that's why he has to go feed.
Okay, so Colossus, for those who don't know, they started falling out of the matchup because their damage was nerfed to the point where the Disruptor was just without question better, where Storms were without question better. But we've been seeing these come back with Mana, with Night End, and a couple of select others, and the Colossus still do present this problem where you need a way to deal with them. You can't just ignore them. Even though they do less damage, they still do a considerable amount of damage and have a very long reach. So, Vikings sometimes get overmade. We actually, I think it was, who was that? Oh, brain fart. BCQD?
I know what game.
BCQD, I think? He ended up going way too many Vikings.
I don't think it was BCQD.
It was a European Terran, and there's not many of them.
BCQD has so far only overmade Liberators, actually, which you guys should really check out those VODs.
Well, either way, Terrans
don't
have,
know.
I don't know, forgotten how to deal with these, it feels. And while siege tanks are okay to a degree, Vikings and Liberators are definitely your source of anti-Colossus material. And if you build too many and HuK transitions out and you don't realize that, you suddenly have 50 supply in the sky of dead Vikings. Just worthless.
Yeah. I think it was actually Marine Lord Euthermal. It was a Terran.
I would not believe Marine Lord. I would believe Euthermal maybe, though.
Or Bunny. It was a Terran that I would actually consider, like, you know, I don't mean, like, I have to say this, but better than BCQD. Like, I hate saying it like that, but one that has had a lot more, you know, qualifying finishes.
This is the problem when you cast every single day and you cast like 20 matches a day. You really actually forget who the fuck you've been casting.
Yeah, but I do know what game we're talking about. They did overmake Vikings, but they still end up winning just barely. But anyways.
Oh, this is really awkward right now. Drunkenboi is getting sieged up in his position, but he's sort of trapped.
The tanks are
he's gonna be cut
really-
off from reinforcements.
That and the tanks are really low. Like, it's actually not going to take much to deal damage. The Colossus over here almost ends up working better as bait. The Disruptor gets focused. Drunkenboi gets a good shot. But this Liberator is going to do nothing. This stimmed army, not a lot. It's the drop of the main that's most dangerous, and the Colossus here pops in time to deal some very serious damage. Mothership Core, please! Mama! Overcharge!
Mama! She's going towards that third-ish. That's where you saw the medevacs going to, but honestly, if the medevacs hadn't, the army hadn't killed that one Colossus, it would have just gotten demolished by that attack anyway, so that was probably a better use of it. This one also got a Colossus. This one's going to try and get a fourth base, but attacking a pylon instead.
He's being torn apart. His army's looking grand, and he's not screwed off this, but he got torn apart on this.
A little bit, but Drunkenboi is getting into that dangerous territory that existed in Heart of the Swarm as well, where you're dropping, you're everywhere at once, and you think you're doing a lot of damage, but at the end of the day, you only get a handful of probe kills and maybe a couple of adepts. but the granting army of HuK is still there. You actually haven't culled it at all. And it's a very, like, tough time right now, where if HuK had counterattacked, you know, the War Prism already set up and ready to go, it might have been very dangerous for Drunkenboi. But if he has a minute or two, he can replenish that army, and he can actually get the counter to the Colossus, which he has actually chosen to go for Vikings.
Yeah, this is also going to be really weird. Like, I agree with you, but at the same time, I feel like just the way that Colossus are, I think there are a lot of benefits to Colossus right now, especially with regards to Terran having to make Vikings, but the number of Colossus you have to get to really emphasize that point and to make Terrans fret, I think is much higher than it used to be. So with just 2 Colossus, and the robot facility was depowered until just now, recently, like he repowered it, but he's still not making Colossus from there, he's going to Templar Archives tech. I don't really know if HuK can be that aggressive. I kind of feel like Drunkenboi's gonna have the time he needs to remax.
Yeah, I think it already happened. Like, the time's already gone. It was just like that split second they were on even army supply. And then Drunkenboi has definitely surpassed him. And you're right, the Colossus count is not high enough to actually warrant Colossus, in my opinion. If it was 2 Colossus on top of a grand, like, you know, maxed army because you got them later, that's a fine addition. That's, you know, that's consistent damage. But if you're mostly depending on Colossus, they aren't what they were in Heart of the Swarm. They can't actually, like, just beef up a small army to a point where, you know, Terrans aren't going to attack into them.
Storm is on the way. Blink is going to be finishing up. High Templars warping in.
This is a lot more what I would expect out of HuK. Like, the Colossus are not a bad choice, but it is Storm that I know him best for. Problem is, there's so many damn Marauders here. Storms and Colossus combined even are going to be struggling to get that AoE damage, and Drunkenboi's got a really nice army supply right now. Those Liberators make it really hard to push, but there's not that many. Vikings getting a couple shots off, but on a Phoenix, not on the Colossus. Widowmine catches him off guard. The surprise EMP. And, oh, HuK's going to lose this. There's, like, no question about it. HuK's going to lose this.
Yeah. Well, he could have waited for +2, but he saw an opportunity, I suppose. But everything just went to hell real quick, like. And this Colossus build did not end up working out.
No, Adepts are going to try and get some shots. GG gets called. Drunkenboi. Woo! He's going to take map number 1.
In a macro game, too, so.
That was, yeah. That was impressive. I mean, we were all wrong.